Hi everyone, welcome back. So this is my fourth tutorial on Python file handling. I hope you guys have gone through my previous tutorial where I taught you the basics of Python file handling. In the very first tutorial, I taught you handling a text file in Python when you open a file in R mode or R plus mode. So in that tutorial, I explained situations where you have to open a text file in R mode or R plus mode. And later in the second tutorial, I taught you file handling in Python, where the situations where you have to open a text file in W mode or W plus mode. And in the third tutorial, I taught you situations where we have to open a text file in append mode, A mode or A plus mode. Okay, so in today's tutorial, I am not going to teach you anything new, but instead I am going to summarize everything that we have learned in the three previous tutorials. So before plunging into the tutorial, I want you all to take a look at this flow chart. So this is a very colorful, detailed, systematic flow chart. In this flow chart, you can see all the different file modes, and here you can see certain conditions, and choice of the file mode depends upon what your condition is. What condition if depending upon what condition is satisfied, the file mode is considered. Okay, so at this stage, let's see, you want to open a file, you want to open a text file. The next decision point where you are confronted with a question like, for what purpose are you opening the file? There are two options. You are opening the file for reading. Second, you are opening the file for reading and writing. As of now, let's say you want to open the file for reading only. Okay, you are not thinking of writing something to the file. All you want is you just want to read the content of the file, which means there must be some file, in somewhere in your directory there must be some file. Okay, in such a scenario, you have to open the file in R mode. So when you open a file in R mode, all you can do is you can open a file that already existing, a file that is already existing, and you can read the content of the file. And when you read a file, you are reading all the content of the file, which means by default the cursor will be located at the very beginning of the file. Let's look at an example here. Let's go back to the folder, and here I want to, okay, we have two text files here. What I want to do is, I want to check what is there in the file. Okay, I have about 5 lines of information here. Okay, I just want to copy the file path, and here I am going to open. Within the constructor, I am going to provide the full file path, and I want to read the content of the file, so therefore I want to open the file in R mode. Okay, and for the ease of understanding, the file handle has been named RF, which means we are reading the file. So here let's read the file, print rf.read. Okay, let's see if we are able to read it or not. Yes, we are able to read the file content. That's all. Now, second, now my intention is I don't want to read I don't want to read and write. I just want to write some content into the file. Okay, I just want to write some content into the file. Whatever is there in the file, okay, let's say there is a file. Whatever is there in the file, I don't mind, I don't care. All I want is I want to write some content into the file. Because which means I want to erase all the content of the file and I want to write something freshly into the file. In such a case, you are going after, or you are neither in pursuit of reading nor in reading and writing. All you are looking for is you want to write the file. Okay, so here when you have taken the decision that you want to write the file, you want to write some content into the file, you reach here at this decision point where you have to ask yourself whether you want to truncate or not. Okay, you are going to write you are going to write some new content into the file. Now, do you mind having some information there previously or no? So let's say you decide to not have any previous content, which means you want to erase all the pre-existing content and you want to write something new to the file. In such a scenario, you have to go for W mode. Okay, so you don't want to read the content of the file. You don't want to read and write any content of the file. All you want is to write something freshly, and you also want to remove everything that previously existed in the file. So in such a case, you want to open the file in W mode. Okay, now let's see whether the W mode does exactly what I have told you now. Here I have shown you the file which has 5 lines of information. Now what I am going to do is I am going to the code here. I want to open this particular text file in W mode, and I want to write something new to the file. Okay, so I just want to change the name of the file handle here because we are dealing with the W mode here. So wf.write. Okay, so here actually I am typing down something new. This is going to write down something new, and in this process the previous content will be erased. Okay, let me run it. Yes, okay, the code has been executed, there was no error. Now I want to open the file and check what has happened. See, what we have seen here, what we can see here is that the new content that I have written has totally erased what previously existed. The previous content was erased altogether, exclusively, and they all were replaced by the new content that I have written here. Okay, so now I can't read the content of the file. For example, if I come here using the seek function, if I try to move the cursor to the very beginning of the content, and if I try to read the content of the file, it is not going to read. Okay, because it's not readable. Okay, if you open the file in W mode, you can't read. You can't read the content of the file. Okay, I think you have understood it. Now let's look at the flow chart again. Okay, now your intention is to write something new to the file, write something to the file, but you are a little more generous. You say that, or you decide that, I don't want to remove, I don't want to erase the content of the file. Okay, I will, whatever I am going to write, I want to append, or I want to add the new content at the end of the previous content, which means you want to retain the previous content. In such a case, what you are looking for is append mode or A mode. So here in append mode, there are 2 properties. One, in append mode, you can actually open a file that does not exist also. Okay, you can create a new file and write content into the file. That is number 1. Secondly, when you open a file in append mode, the cursor will be located at the end of the file, end of the content of the file, which means if you are opening a file which has certain content previously, okay, when you open the file in append mode or a mode, the cursor will be located at the very end of the content of the file, which means when you write subsequent content, the subsequent content will be written back to back. Okay, the subsequent content, they are not going to replace the previous content. Okay, they will get added up. They will get added up to the end of the file, end of the previous pre-existing content. Okay, let's see. Here, as I told, in append mode, when you open a file in append mode, you can actually create a new file. I am going to give a file name which doesn't exist in any of my directory. Okay, so in the directory concerned, here in the provided path, there is no such file as file 6 here. Now I am going to write some content. Okay, so I'm going to run it, and yeah, the code has been executed, and I want to check the file that I have created just now. The file 6 you can see here, and when I open it, you can see the content that I have just written. Now what I'm going to do is, as I told, when I open a previously existing file, a pre-existing file, now I am going to add a new line. This is going to be appended. Not replace, not, but this is going to append, but not replace. Okay, so now I am going to write this content. When I run it, check what has happened. When I open it, okay, so file 6, okay, so let's say, okay, so line 6 I have, this is what I have written, and I want to give a new line character here, and I want to execute it again, and I want to check what has happened here. Okay, basically, I think I have forgotten to change the mode here. Okay, so let's say I'm giving a new file name here. This file doesn't exist in my directory, and I'm going to run it, and I want to check, yeah, the file 7 is here, and the file has been created. Okay, now what I am going to do is, I want to run the code again. I just want to see if this is replacing or getting added to the end of the previous content. When I run it again, I am going to replace in line 3 I am giving, because already I have run it twice. 3. Okay, now we will open it and see what has happened. Yeah, see, now the information, whatever I have written to the file which I opened in append mode, all this information are getting added up. Okay, they are getting appended to the previous content of the file. Okay, why this is happening? So because when you open the file in append mode, the default cursor position will be at the end of the file content. Okay, now let us look at something different. Okay, so far we have read the file, we have written new content into the file. Now our intention is to, I want to read the content of the file. I want to read the content of the file, and I want to write something new to the file. Okay, so when you have taken such a decision or that branch, you end up at this decision point where this is asking you, do you want to truncate the content of the file, which means do you want to remove all the content of the file? No, I don't want to remove the content of the file. Okay, fine. So which means you have opened a file which existed with certain content in it, and you don't want to truncate the content of the file. Okay, so the next decision point is, okay, where do you want to find your cursor? Do you want to find it in the beginning or end? Oh, well, I want to see the cursor I want to have the cursor in the beginning of the file. Okay, then you have to open the file in R plus mode. Okay, so when you open the file in R plus mode, by default, you can read the content of the file. Also, you can write new content into the file. But here, you have to keep in mind that when you open the file in R plus mode, the default cursor position will be in the very beginning of the file. And here, you have to keep in mind, since the cursor position is in the very beginning of the content of the file, whatever new you are going to write into the file is going to replace what was there previously. Oh, no, you know. So if you really want to write the new content into the file without replacing any new content, you have to manually bring the cursor to the end of the file. Let's see. So here, I am going to open the same file in R plus mode. Okay, which means I can read the content of the file here. So I am changing the file handle name R plus file RPF. So RPF, I want to read the content. I want to read the content. Okay, and I want to print it out. Print. So yeah, when you run it, you can see the 3 lines of information we had in the file. We have in the file. Now, we have opened this file in R plus mode, which means you have an added advantage. You can also write the content into the content of the file. What I am going to do is, okay, I just want to read a file dot, I want to write something new. Okay, I'm writing this will replace the content because cursor is in the beginning. Okay, now I am going to run it. Okay, I have run it. Now, let's check the file here. Okay, can you see this? Because the cursor was located in the beginning of the file, so whatever new content that you wrote into the file, they replaced the previously existing content. So whatever content was there initially in the file, they all got replaced by the subsequent content that I wrote into the file. Okay, so how can you avoid that? So in order to avoid that, what all you have to do is, before writing the content, you have to make sure that the cursor is located at the end of the file. So how can you do that? You have to using the read function, you can bring the cursor to the end of the file. Okay, now once it has reached the end of the file, you can now write new content into the file. Okay, using the write function, I am going to write a new content. So here, what I am going to write is, now the content was added to the end. So yeah, I am going to run it now. So I have written the new content, and I'm sure, so what we have done here, we have opened the file in R plus mode. Before writing any new content into the file, we made sure that the cursor is located at the end of the file by implementing a read function here, by invoking a read function here, and then later on we wrote the new content. Let us open it now. When you open it here, let's see, yes, here, now the content was added to the end. Okay, it looks little, difficult to comprehend, I know. So I just want to add a new line character here, and let's see what is going to happen. So So here it makes sure that it will open, the cursor will be in the beginning. For the read function, since I have invoked here, it makes sure the cursor goes to the end of the file, and then I have written the new content. Okay, I'm running it here, and if I open here, oh yeah, great. See, the content was added to the end of the file here. Now, what are we going to do now? So that's about the R plus mode. Now, let's say you have come here. Where do you want the cursor position to be? And you are more generous. You are saying that, no, I don't want to disturb the content. I don't want to truncate the content of the file, and I want the cursor position to be at the end of the file, which means whatever new thing, whatever new string I am going to add, whatever new information I am going to add, I want all of them to appear at the end of the file. Okay, so I am opening a file that is existing in my directory, and the content of the file, I want to retain them, and I want to add the subsequent content to the end of the file. Okay, so unlike the R plus mode, where by default the position of the cursor is located at the beginning of the file, when you open the file in A plus mode, the cursor position is actually located at the end of the file. Okay, so let's see, we are going to open the same file, but at this point of time, I want to open the file in A plus mode. So, okay, I forgot actually, I should have mentioned about the append mode beforehand, but anyway, excuse me, okay, we will actually cover this A plus mode, because anyway, when you go through my previous tutorials, you will get a grasp of it. So, yeah, I have opened the file in A plus mode. Here, you can basically write new content into the file, and you can also read that file. Okay. So, the beauty of the A plus mode is that when you open the file, the cursor position by default will be located at the end of the file. Okay. And whatever new content that you are going to write, it will get added to the end of the previous content. Additionally, you can also read the content of the file. Okay. Okay, I am repeating it again. When you open a file, text file in A plus mode, you can, the cursor position will be by default at the end of the file, and you can add new content to the end of the previous content. Additionally, you can read the content of the file. And one more important thing to keep in mind is that when you open a file in A plus mode, it is not necessary that the file has to be pre-existing. You can also create a new file. Okay. So anyway, what we can do is, I am not going to bring the cursor to the end of the file here. Instead, I am going to directly write the content. So I am going to change the file handle name here, append plus file. So apf dot write, this, okay, I am going to add a new line character. Okay, here, okay, this will get added to the end of the previous content. Okay, okay, now I am going to run it. Yeah, it has run, it has been executed, and I am going to open it. And when I check, okay, this will get added to the, sorry for the typo here, to the end of the previous content. Okay, this is what I have written after opening this particular file in A plus mode here. Okay, we have got, now you know how to distinguish between the R plus mode and A plus mode here. Okay, now let us get back to this particular decision point. I mean, excuse me if you don't feel it like much more organized, but anyway, the whole point is there. If you go through the explanation, you will clearly understand it. So at this point, your intention is to read and write the file, and but you want to truncate the file, which means you want to open a file, and you don't want the previous content. You want to totally erase everything that was there in the file, and you want to write something freshly to the file. In such a case, you have to open the file in W plus mode. Now you might ask the question, why you did not go for the W mode? Simple, because you want to read and write. Okay, you just don't want to write, you also want to write the content, then you want to read what you have written. Okay, so that's it. So what you have to do is, you have to, I am going to change the mode here. I'm going to change the file handle name here, w plus mode, and w plus mode. I am going to write this content. Okay, I am going to write. Now you will only see me. Okay, nothing else is going to be displayed. Okay, this is the only string that you are going to see in the file. So now I am going to run it, and when I check here, that is the only content that you can see here. Okay, got it. So here you have totally truncated, and you have written the new content. Now the beauty of W plus mode is you can also read the content. Before that, you have to make sure you go back to the initial place that you want to make sure the cursor is located in the initial position. You have to pass the argument 0 to the code, and now you have to you have to print it out. Okay, you have to print. Okay, so you have to read the content. From the very beginning, you have to read the content. So you have to print it out on the screen. So you have to use the print function here. So print function, and let's run it, and yeah, we have written the content, and we have also read the content of the file here. So yeah, that's it. Okay, that's all about the different modes of file handling in Python in using different modes. Okay, so yeah, I hope you will go through the summary, and I would request you to go through my previous tutorials too, to get a grasp of the different modes in Python, different file handling modes in Python, to get a somewhat detailed explanation on each mode. Okay, so that's all. I hope you have enjoyed the tutorial. You have taken some information from watching the tutorial. So if you have any queries, if you have any suggestions, kindly let me know it on the comment box. And until I meet you with the next tutorial, I'm signing off. Thank you so much.